Hi everybody, welcome back to the business technology course. This is our week 3 content. We're going to be talking a little bit about how to use a spreadsheet as calculators, talking a little bit more about formulas and functions. Last week we went over a little bit of formulas, how to do cell referencing. We're going to continue to build on that week, talking about functions and, like I said at the beginning, using spreadsheets a little bit as calculators. So we're going to talk about hard coding basic formulas, and I'll show you what all these mean. This might just sound like a little bit of jibber jabber right now, but I will show you what all this means as we go on. So we're talking about hard coding basic formulas and then using functions, and I will define each of those as we go on. So let's talk about hard coding basic formulas right now. Excel can essentially be used as a calculator. It has many more complex functions, but we can use it as a basic calculator doing things like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Just so you know, these are how you do each of them. The first two are normal for addition and subtraction, and then multiplication is on your number keys. It is Shift 8, and then division is the / button. Let's just go through and give a quick demonstration of some of these. So I'm just going to put in some numbers here. Again, just these don't really matter. These are just for us to kind of play with. So to start, I'm going to do an addition, a subtraction, a multiplication, and division. So for the addition, what we're going to do, like always, we're going to start by hitting equals. And then we can do something as simple as typing in the numbers we want. We can do 12, then Shift and the plus sign, and then 3. If we hit enter, that will spit out 15. You can double click to see what is in that cell. By way of another example, we can go ahead and do equals sign. Always start with an equal sign. This is for subtraction. Let's say we want to do 5 minus 3. Hit enter. These are just some basic hard coding here. And then using the multiplication sign, let's do 5 and then Shift 8 times 3. Enter gives us 15, and then the last one we will do equal sign 15 / which is divided, and then by 3. That gives us 5. So that's just how you can hard code each of those. Like I said, double click, it'll show you what you've done. Now I'm going to go ahead and delete these. As always, I'm going to remind you to open up a spreadsheet and kind of follow along. Do these things while I'm doing them. It's always important to do that. It's easier when you're doing it on your own to kind of learn what you need to do. So now we're going to talk a little bit about how to hard code basic formulas using cell references. Now, if you remember from last week, we talked a little bit about cell referencing. I'm just going to give a quick review and then show how to do it with formulas. So really quick, the way that you reference a cell, you start with the equal sign, you click on the cell that you want, you hit enter. This now is linked to that cell, and it will show whatever value is in this cell. Okay. We can use this to do basic functions. Let me just make sure I'm staying on track here. Basically, the reason why we're going to want to use cell references is it's going to speed up the process, number one. It's going to minimize our errors, and it's going to allow us to make quick changes. Now, if you remember from last week, we talked about how this cell that is referencing cell A1 here, anytime cell A1 is updated, so let's update it to 26. 26. This cell will also be updated. This is going to be important as we start to get into more complex spreadsheets and financial models. And I'll give you a little bit of an example of that here in a minute. So let's say we want to do addition using cell references. So I'm going to always again start with the equal sign. Let's say I want to do this cell and then plus, so shift and then equal sign, so that gives us a plus this cell. Now I hit enter. That's those two together, that's 29. If this changes, again, this is just an example, you're probably understanding this a little bit, but if this changes from 3 to 6, this number also updates because we've referenced those cells. I'm going to go ahead and just give an example of each of these. So let's do 5, referencing that cell, minus sign 4, that's going to give us 1. Do a quick multiplication. Let's do 5 times sign, so that's again shift 8, 6, enter, and that gives us 30. And then a quick division example. Let's do let's change one of these. Let's just do 4, and then I'm going to make, let me go back here. I'm just going to give ourselves a 2 here. So let's say I want to do equal sign, and I want to do 26 divide sign by 2, and that gives us 13. So that's how you can use cell references to speed up your process a little bit. So we're going to take a quick look at this spreadsheet here. Now, if you haven't already, you will be provided with a copy of this spreadsheet for Rocky Mountain Catering. I just wanted to use it just as a quick example. So this is going to look super complicated initially. It's not. It will come with time. But just so that we can kind of see what using cell references does for us. So let's take a look really quick at this income statement and this cash flow statement. On these two statements, they're linked together. One of the ways that they're linked is that net income is down here at the bottom of this income statement, and it is also at the very top right here, net income of the cash flow statement. Now, it's important that if this net income value changes for whatever reason, right, because net income is basically the result of some of the math going on right here. If this number changes on our income statement, we want it to also change on our cash flow statement over here. So what's been done is on the cash flow statement, it has been linked right here. We see equals N33. It's been linked down here to the income statement. So we see that they're linked here. Now, if this net income value were to change, it would also be updated up here in the cash flow statement. So using cell references basically just makes these documents connect one with another, and it makes it so that you don't have to do so much hard coding and typing and updating. If one of the figures changes, they all are set up so that they update. So that's why we use cell references. So now we're going to talk about some basic functions within Excel and how to also use cell references for these functions. So Excel has many functions in it. Some of the basic ones that we're going to be going over today are these right here: sum, average, minimum, maximum, and median. And I'm going to switch over into Excel to give you a little bit of a view of what's going on here. So really quickly, just ignore everything that's right here for right now. We're just going to work over here. So this right here is a function. This is the sum function, like I talked about a little bit earlier. I'm just going to kind of go over the pieces of a function here. This is the name of a function. Again, we're always going to start with an equal sign. Within a function, we have these numbers that go inside the parentheses. Those numbers are referred to as arguments within a function. So let's just give a quick example here. What we're looking at on this side of the spreadsheet here is an example of a balance sheet for a company. Now it's simplified down, it's only a little piece. We have current assets, we have fixed assets, and then we have some values for each of these different types of current and fixed assets. And then we have totals here at the bottom. So one way we can use functions, a total obviously is just a sum of these three values. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit equal, we're going to hit sum, we're going to type it all the way in, and then you're going to go ahead and click on sum here. Now we want to enter in each of the arguments separated by a comma. So I'm going to click the first one, then I'm going to type a comma, click the second one, comma, third one, comma, and finally I'm going to close it with a close parentheses and hit return or enter. Now this is going to give us a total value, which is the sum of these three values up here, and if I click on it, you can see what's going on here a little bit better. just by way of reminder, we have something called the autofill handle. If you drag this over, this little green box down in the corner, drag it over, now it has copied that same thing that you did into this same column, into this next column. So we have the sum of these three values here. I can do the same thing down here, sum, click on these. You actually don't have to go ahead and click on each one. A faster way to do it is just to drag through all of them. Now it's collected that whole range. I hit enter and it just comes up with that. Lastly, I want to give you another shortcut, even more of a shortcut than what I just did. If I highlight these values and the empty box below it and go up here on the home tab, up on the ribbon, there's a sign right here which means sum, and if I click it, it's an auto sum, and that just puts that number in for me there. So just really quick, I'm going to do that again. So I'm going to highlight everything I want and the box right below it and hit sum, and that gives me the sum of that range there. That's just a little bit of a quicker way to do sum. Now we'll talk about these right here. So let's go ahead and do average. So maybe for some reason I want the average of the total current assets over these 2 years. So what that means is the average of these two values right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit equals, and I'm going to start to type the function that I want. In this case it's average, and I can go ahead and click on it, and then I will highlight the two values, hit enter, and that gives me the average of those two numbers right there. I'm going to go ahead and do it one more time down here, average, and we'll click it again, average, highlight these two, enter, and that gives us the average value of those two. Now that's just another simple function. Let's say, so minimum and maximum, we'll get those two really quick. So ignore this here. We're going to work over here again. I'm going to give us a set of values. So we're going to go 1 to 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Excuse me, 9 and 10. So let's say, imagine this list here was just an extremely long list, and I want to find what is the largest number in that list. So I'm going to go ahead and hit equals and start to type max, which is the maximum. Then I can highlight this whole list, hit enter, and that gives me the maximum out of that whole list. Now I go here, type min, that is the minimum, highlight that same list. The minimum of that list is 1. Now this might be easy to see right here because it's 1 to 10, it's easy. But if you have a big long list of a bunch of different numbers, and let's just take these for example. Now you might not do this on your balance sheet, but this is just by way of kind of example. Let's say this is all of these numbers right here. You have a huge long list. They're all not easy numbers to look at, and I just want to find what is the max of all of these values. I highlight all of them, hit enter, and it's this 103 right here, and that shows up. If I want the minimum of that same set there, I highlight that minimum, and that gives me the minimum, which is this 10.243 right there. That's minimum and maximum. Average is the same as mean, and then we have median. The way that you're going to do the median for a set of values, excuse me, didn't mean to bring that up, is same thing. You're going to hit equals, start to type median, comes up, you highlight the set that you want, hit enter, and then the median there is 5.5. Moving on a little bit. Oh, this just goes back to some basics. We talked about it. So we have the name of the function. So let's just really quick, kind of just as some review. In this case, this is the name of the function, max. Then we have each of the arguments. So we have argument 1, argument 2. And then here's just some examples of what that can look like as well. Talked about this. All functions begin the same, typing equals. Excel, like you saw, will start to suggest functions, and we can either type it fully out, or you can just click on the function that you want, fill out the relevant arguments, hit return. That is all stuff we've already kind of gone over. And then now we're going to get a little bit to using cell references within functions. So you saw me do this a little bit. Obviously, like all the other times that we use cell references, it's to save time, it's to minimize our errors. So we're going to go ahead, and you've actually seen me do this a bunch already. So, I mean, just by way of kind of going over this one more time, I did this already, but this is just what this means, using cell references. Let's say I wanted to know the sum only of these two cells here. I would do that one, comma, this one, enter. Now, one thing I didn't cover is you can use the sum functions to just put whatever numbers in you want. Let's say I have 10 and 20, enter, that's 30. But using cell references is going to be much more common for what we're doing. And then that is all of our content for this week.